Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. I know I haven't made a video, or at least released a video in a little while. A lot of different things going on, especially around this time of year. Some things go on that add a little bit more complication to some free time, things of that nature. I had COVID a couple of weeks ago. Fortunately, it wasn't such a bad case, but it did go through the house. So that definitely compounded everything else that was going on at the time. So now I'm back, and time for, I think, a more classic video instead of a discussion video, even though more discussion videos are going to be coming your way soon enough. But today, for this video, I think it's a very special one because it's a collection completed video. I've mentioned before in previous videos that there are certain runs that I will go after. And some of those runs are runs that are created. What I mean by that is, like for example, my Amazing Spider-Man run. I consider a run for that particular series Amazing Fantasy 15 and Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 20. That's a run for me. I originally started my X-Men run, which was X-Men 1 through 20. I think I released that video back in 2020 when I was able to complete that run. But that run morphed into a complete Silver Age X-Men run, which was released in 2021. So anyway, for this video, it's an actual complete run of a specific genre. Now I say specific genre because I'll explain that as I move on, but it's the Haunt of Fear. As you know, anyone who watches this channel, I love ECComics. Last year, around the same time I completed my X-Men Silver Age run, I completed my Tales from the Crypt run, which was a wonderful run to complete. It was Crypt of Terror, all the Crypt of Terrors, the two main crime patrols, and of course all of the Tales from the Crypt books. Really a big accomplishment for me, and it meant a lot. So with that, I had a couple of other runs in my head that I would like to complete, Haunt of Fear being one of them. And of course Vault of Horror, which should be completed rather soon enough. But here today I'm going to show you all of the books in the Haunt of Fear run. Some of these books of course you've seen on my channel, but this is the first time that I decided to put them all together in a single video. It's for me as a collector, this is quite an accomplishment. Because Haunt of Fear, Vault of Horror, and of course Tales from the Crypt are series that I love very much, and to be able to have every single book is a real treat. And it was a long, tough road to do this. Now there are several books in this run, just as it was in the Tales from the Crypt video, or the Tales from the Crypt Complete video that I released over a year ago. Some of these books, about a handful of them, still need to be upgraded. They're not quite there when it comes to what I consider a keeper. Of course, any book can be upgraded, even books I consider keepers, if I see a better copy that's a pretty good price that I'm willing to buy. What I'm saying is anything can change, but I usually have a bare minimum when it comes to grade or the look of a book. So there's about a handful, maybe a little less than a handful in this run that I would probably upgrade in the future, and that means that those particular books will be for sale. So let's get started. Let's get started with the very first issue of Haunt of Fear. Now those of you that know anything about EC, the numbering system is a bit off. Except for shock suspense stories and crime suspense stories, and there are probably several others like Mad and some that I'm not even thinking about. But when you're getting into the horror and the science fiction, the numbering system is off. Now, Haunt of Fear used to be called, I believe, Gunslinger. Now, remember I said earlier in the video, I have a complete run of all the books. Well, I don't have any of the Gunslinger books, so maybe it's not a traditional completist run. But it is a completist run when it comes to all of the horror books. And Gunslinger became Haunt of Fear with number 15. This book right here. This is about a 2.5, and this is, like I was saying before, this is definitely a book that I will upgrade, and eventually this will be for sale. It's very nice 2.5, but it's a 2.5. You know, complete, attached, all that stuff. Not an easy book to get. Not an easy book to get. Not an easy book to find at all. And that's why usually with the earlier horror books like Crypt of Terror 17, Vault of Horror 12, and Haunt of Fear 15, even though I want to upgrade them, they're kind of put on a bookshelf of books to upgrade. The others in this series that I want to upgrade are easier to find sometimes and a lot easier to pay for. But here it is, the very first issue. Now, some people ask, is that the Old Witch? No, it's not the Old Witch. It's not a, it looks more, it was done by Johnny Craig. And this was, the cover was done by Johnny Craig. The first few were done by Johnny Craig before Feldstein took over, and then eventually Graham Ingalls, who would carry this series until the end, who he became known for Haunt of Fear. But no, it's not the Old Witch. Some people say it's a prototype of the Old Witch. I don't know. It doesn't really look like the Old Witch to me at all. It kind of looks like the Vault Keeper, to be quite honest. But we could argue, all the EC fans, all of us, we could argue till we're blue in the face. The Old Witch actually appeared for the first time in this issue right here. Haunt of Fear number 16. This is a nice 4.0, you know, and that usually meets my criteria of a keeper, like I was talking about earlier. However, the bottom staple does have a little bit of rust on it. So, although I'm happy with this, if I can upgrade it, I will, and this will eventually be for sale. But it's not really a book in this run that I'm thinking about selling, because I think it's really nice. It's a nice 4.0, white pager, looks nice. That's pretty good for me. But this is the actual first appearance of the Old Witch. And this cover stands out, you know, with a yellow background. No other Haunt of Fear or Vault of Horror, except, no, that's not true. Vault of Horror 12 had a yellow background. But you hardly ever see the yellow background. You usually see greens, reds, blues, stuff like that for all three of the horror titles. But you don't really see yellow. Sorry for the glare. Pretty cool, right? This is actually my second copy of that. I originally had the Canadian Superior Edition. I bought that at Heroes Con, and then I bought that one and I sold that one off. Now here's the Haunt of Fear number 17. This is also thought of as issue 3. Again, I know, Haunt of Fear 7.3, issue 3, confusing. But that's what it's known as. Another nice 4.0. Another book that's not easy to get. This is a keeper for me. I love this book. I love this cover. And it's another Johnny Craig cover. Johnny Craig and Graham Ingalls are two of my favorites with EC. I like them better than Jack Davis, which I know might upset some EC fans, but I feel, in my own opinion, that Johnny Craig and Graham Ingalls, as I will talk about in a little while, contributed more classic covers to EC than Jack Davis. Jack Davis has drawn some pretty nice, memorable covers, but I don't think he has done as many memorable covers as Johnny Craig or Graham Ingalls. To the non-EC fan, the superhero fan that has, you know, some familiarity with EC, usually, most of the time, I would imagine when they think of an EC cover, it's probably from either Johnny Craig or Graham Ingalls, the Crime Suspense 22, or the Haunt of Fear, the other Haunt of Fear 17. That's usually what comes to mind. I think it's very rare that a Jack Davis will come to mind. But that's just me. Before I move on to the next one, I look at my list here and I try to educate you on, okay, remember the Tales from the Crypt TV show? They use stories from mostly the horror titles, but they dabbled in some of the crime books and the shock books. Well, in this particular one, Haunt of Fear 17, they used, for season 2, Television Terror. Do you remember that one with Morton Downey Jr.? Television Terror came out of this book. So for those of you that are collecting ECs, you are doing your own type of run where you just want to get the books that had stories that were later used on the HBO show, that would have to be one of them. Not easy to do with that one. That's, like I said, it's a bit scarcer than some of the other books. Those first 3 haunts are kind of scarce. More so, I think the 15 and the 17 than the 16, but they are kind of hard to get. They are kind of hard to get, especially in higher grade. But that goes to say with anything, with even Silver Age. Like, you know, if you want to get Amazing Fantasy in high grade, never mind the price. Just finding it in high grade is kind of hard because it's so used to the chipping is so common with it. Okay, I think that's it for when it comes to the HBO show. But if I missed something, I'll make sure I put it in the little description on the bottom. So like I said, they went from 1, 2, 3, which was 15, 16, and 17, and then they just changed the numbering to 4, right? With number 4, it became number 4. This beautiful book. Number 4 is not even written on this book. I think I haven't opened it in a while. I think when you open it up, it's in the indica. But it's not on this cover. It just says November, December 1950. And it's got a little date stamp. This is actually my second copy. This is a nice 4.0, 4.5 copy. Really nice book. I won this off of Heritage a while ago. I originally had another copy that was like a 2 or a 2.5, I forget. And not long after I purchased this, and that one went. So really nice mummy cover. I don't think there's anything from the HBO show, anything in here that was used for the HBO show. Moving right along. Here we have Haunt of Fear number 5, a nice 5.0, maybe 4.5 copy. Another classic. This is a book that I always was familiar with the cover. Now, I'll mention that as I go along. Some Haunt of Fear books, the covers for me, of course I remember a lot of them as I got into this when I was younger. But then there were some that completely escaped me. In particular, number 11, which I'll talk about in a few moments. But this is one that I've always was familiar with because I saw it in reprint form so many times. Great book. Nothing in this comes from the HBO show, or nothing from this was used on the HBO show. This one right here. I love this book. I love this cover. But this is one that I'd like to upgrade. And I'll show you why. See that? This is either a 3.0 or a 3.5 because of that. But the rest of the book is very, very nice. I think it would be a 4.5 without that. I know that this usually can get up to this kind of defect can get up to a 3.5 because I've had in the past, and I have some right now, that are 3.5 CGC with that type of damage. So that's how I know. And the rest of it is very, very nice. Attached, clean, but because of that, this is something that eventually will have to go. But in the meantime, I'm very happy to have it. It's, still, I think, pretty well presenting. And this does take away from it. But other than that, front, back, and the inside, very, very nice. Haunt of Fear number 6. Another one that's not really, a lot of those single digits, aside from the first 3, a lot of those single digit Haunt of Fears are not easy to come by. They are just not easy to come by. I was going to say especially number 5 and number 4, but even this one doesn't come up. Even some of the others that I'm going to show don't come up as often as the others. Okay, and I think that goes the same for a lot of the EC books, like Tales from the Crypt, like number 20, the Crypt of Terrors, of course. They don't really show up that often, and when they do, the price is very high. The price is very high. Nothing was used from the HBO show for that book. Haunt of Fear, I don't have the statistics in front of me. I think Haunt of Fear only HBO show used about a dozen stories. We got one of them down already from this title. I don't know what the statistics are for the others, how many they use. I obviously assume a lot more because Tales from the Crypt ran 7 seasons. But again, they also used a lot from Shock. They used a few from Crime, one from Two-Fisted Tales. I think one was completely made up, or 2 were completely made up. But I do think they tried to keep the majority in Tales from the Crypt and the Vault of Horror. So whenever I complete my Vault of Horror collection, I'm one book away. You'll get that education from the HBO show. Here's a book. This is my second copy. And again, no HBO stuff used in this. Let me get that out right now. I have a nice 6.0 copy of Haunt of Fear number 7. This was my second copy. Years ago, I had purchased a 3.0 CGC copy and I sold it off. I was like, that was back when I was unsure if I was going to complete my Haunt of Fear collection. I was going to complete my Tales from the Crypt, and it took me a while to do that, but I was like, Do I really need this one? Is there anything from the HBO show in it? I was like, I could let it go. And it was only a 3.0, so. But I regretted it because I did like some of the stories in it. And then when I decided that I was going to complete the Haunt of Fear, I felt bad that I sold my 3.0, but it was nice that I was able to upgrade to a nice 6.0. So I doubled the grade. Moving right along, another one with no association with the HBO show, which is fine. But here we have Haunt of Fear number 8, the Shrunken Head cover. This is sometimes a cover that some people outside EC know because of the Shrunken Head. It's okay. I like it. Another one done by this was the first one done by Feldstein, and he would do a few more. All the others up until number 7 were done by Johnny Craig. And here we have it. I think this was in a recent comic book haul. Here's the other one done by Feldstein. Haunt of Fear number 9. Nothing from the HBO show. This is a nice, 4.5, 5.0 copy. Yeah, pretty cool. Next is the last one done by last cover done by Al Feldstein. This is probably like a nice 5.5, 6.0 copy, and I had 2 copies of this at one point. I think I had a 3.0 raw that I sold maybe a year ago or whatever, because I upgraded this a while ago. Here we have Haunt of Fear number 10, the Matador cover. Pretty nice. Now, the next one does have something from the HBO show. I believe it was the 7th season, called Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. It was the one. It was the one that was the 7th season was all done by British actors in London or Britain rather. Here we have number 11, and this is the first Graham Ingalls cover, who would take over the series all the way until number 28, who was mainly associated with Haunt of Fear, not only because of the stories inside, but the covers. And like I was talking about earlier, there's some covers that I usually forget about. This is one of them. When I was trying to figure out all the Haunt of Fear books that I needed, I was like, okay, I remember that one, and this is one that just completely escaped me. I'm like, oh yeah, that one, that cover. It's a great cover though, isn't it? Take a better look. Nice cover. This is a 4.0 copy. The next one, as you all know, is my favorite cover of all time. This has been in several videos over the years, and I've had 2 copies of this at one point. This is the upgraded copy. It's like a 6570 copy, and I sold off the other one years ago. But here we have Haunt of Fear number 12. Now, this is a busy issue when it comes to the TV series and the movie. You know, the movie that came out, not the Tales from the Crypt movies, like from the 90s, the ones that came out in the 70s. So, the first story in this, I don't remember the first story. It might be the cover story, actually. It might be the cover story, Poetic Justice. That came from the Tales from the Crypt movie that came out in 1971 or 72. I always forget the year. But it was made by the Amicus Film Company. I think a lot of people, fans of those, that movie and the Vault of Horror, which was a sequel to it. But Poetic Justice came from this book. TV series used every other story in this. So like I said, this is a pretty busy book when it comes to media. I don't know if it's in order here. Let me see here. Bear with me. Season 4 was the first season to use a story from this, and it was on a dead man's chest. It was one of the earlier episodes, I think. No, maybe it was one of the later ones. I don't remember. But it was season 4. Season 4 wasn't that great. And the episode was so-so. The next time the TV show used something from this... Oh, actually, no. It was season 4. Season 4 used 2 from this. I almost forgot. And then the next one was pretty good. It was an earlier episode. It came before, I think, on a dead man's chest. It was called What's Cooking'? Do you remember that one? For those that watch the show with Christopher Reeve and Judd Nelson, that was a really good episode. That also came from this. So we have 3 so far. We have Poetic Justice from the movie, What's Cooking, and On a Dead Man's Chest. Both came from season 4. And the last one, I think, came from season 7, the one that was in Britain. No, actually, it was season 5. Wow, I was really off with that one. Good thing I wrote this stuff down. It was called Till Death Do Us Part. So every story in this book was used in media. So there you go. If those of you are collecting these type of books and want to see what was used for what, there you have it. Next one doesn't have any media, like TV show, movie, whatever, but it's still a great book. And I've had several copies of this over the years, and it was always, I remember I bought one copy, it turned out it had restoration on it. I bought another copy that was low grade. I sold that one off, and then I finally was able to get this one, which is a nice, probably 4.0, straight 4.0 copy. Haunt of Fear 13. It's an okay cover. I think a lot of EC fans like it. Next one. This is definitely one I need to upgrade. This is probably like a 2.5 copy. Not a bad looking 2.5, but a 2.5 copy, I think at least. It is the Haunt of Fear number 14. This one is a little more significant than some of the ones that I've already talked about. Significant because it contains, which I think is the first story, the origin of the old witch. You know, issue 17, the one I showed you, the one that, which is issue 3, that was the origin of, and I should have mentioned it, that was the origin of, you know, the Crypt of Terror, the Haunt of Fear, and the Vault of Horror. There was one story called Horror Beneath the Streets, where you find out how these ghoul lunatics got their own little magazine and stuff like that. Then there were some issues. I don't think the Vault Keeper has one. I don't think. But then there were other issues, like this one in particular, that have the origin story, the particular origin story of the ghoul lunatic. And this one happens to be the Old Witch. In Tales from the Crypt, it's issue 33, which was also an episode on the show called Lower Birth, which was season 2, right? Okay, like I said, nothing from this, I don't think, from the, nothing from this from that was used on the TV show. But it's the origin of the Old Witch. So it's a key issue, is what I'm saying. All right. Number 15 is next, and something from this was used for the HBO show, Season 5, Death of Some Salesman with Tim Curry. Remember that one? That one was really interesting. But here we have a 4.5 copy of number 15. Very nice. Here we have another, I think this is a pretty cool cover. Nothing from the HBO show, though. The Haunt of Fear, number 16. The headless cover. Yeah, for many years, I didn't even realize he was headless. I wasn't really paying attention. But then when you take it in, you can see he's headless. Pretty cool. A really creepy cover. Yeah, very horror-ish, like, you know, Universal Monster type horror-ish. Okay, moving along again. Nothing from the TV show was taken. That was nothing was from the TV show showed anything from this book. But I think what I was saying before about Jack Davis versus Johnny Craig and Graham Ingalls. Usually, when non-EC fans that have some familiarity with EC, they might think of this cover, which has gone down, I think, as one of the greatest horror covers of all time. A nice 6.5 copy of The Haunt of Fear number 17, the second number 17, right? I've often said that sometimes the portraits of the ghoul lunatics, although it's standard, it's expected for the series, I think sometimes the portraits interfere with the artwork too much. And I think this is a prime example of where the portraits are smack right on the close-up of the zombie's face, and it takes away a little bit from the book, the cover. Although it's still a memorable cover, it's still an awesome cover, detailed cover, but just having all three of these, like just covering half the face, I think is a bit of a distraction. But it's a classic cover, and again, not only The cover is seen as classic, but the story itself, I think it's called Horror-wi Hasbayu, is seen as one of the classically drawn horror stories from that era. Speaking of classic covers, again, lending some evidence to my argument about Graham Ingalls and stuff, and the argument I made about the portraits. Now, again, nothing in this comes from the TV series, but here we have a nice 4.0 copy of Haunt of Fear 18. This is a crazy cover. Every time I look at it, I'm trying to figure out what is going on here. And again, having the portraits over here kind of takes away from it. But just take a look at it. A lot of EC fans talk about this cover with love, because it's just so weird. It's like, really, it's just like so bizarre. And the colors really pop, the green, the yellow, all the reds, all that stuff. It really makes this a very good looking cover. But again, the portraits, I think, just kind of take away from it. Now this one right here, number 19, one was used for the HBO show. It was in the first season, called Lover Come Hack to Me. Probably one of the most uninteresting episodes of that season. That season only had 6 episodes. But regardless, here you go. Nice 4.0 copy of number 19. Now this is a classic cover because it's a double beheaded cover. And, you know, beheadings, shrunken heads, bondage, whatever it is, from the Golden Age, which this was the Golden Age, the last days of the Golden Age, are usually seen as classics and sought out by collectors. And sometimes that brings a premium when it comes to the prices. Here we have Haunt of Fear number 20. Again, nothing really from the HBO show. You know, the HBO show started really using Haunt of Fear stuff in the last few issues. That's when they started using them, except for that number 12 that had everything, like 3. But they really didn't start using too much of Haunt of Fear until we got into the 20s. Well, we start off the 20s with number 20, and this nice 5.5 copy was the very last book I needed to finish my collection, or at least my Haunt of Fear run. Nice. Pretty cool cover. Nothing memorable, though. I don't think it's a really memorable cover, but it's okay. Not as good as some of the last few that I showed. I think number 17 taking I mean, 17 is great. I still like number 12 the best, but I think others agree that number 17 was probably the best cover of the entire run. And a lot of people like 18 too, and 19. Here we have something from the HBO show now. Season 1, Dig That Cat, He's Real Gone. First appeared in this nice 5.5 copy of Haunt of Fear number 21. Again, a so-so cover, but pretty good book. One of my favorite covers. And nothing from the TV show, but from the Tales from the Crypt movie, much like the number 12 with Poetic Justice. This was the very last segment, the last story that movie showcased. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry. Take it a step back. It was the 4th. It was right after Poetic Justice. Sorry. The last one was Blind Alleys. Maybe I'm still suffering from COVID fog. But here we have number 22. I've had several copies of this over the years. This is a nice, probably 5.0 copy. Could be a little bit better, but it has a little bit of tape on it. So because of the tape, I take a little bit off as I reevaluate it. But from the HBO show, from the HBO movie from the 1970s, early 70s, Wish You Were Here. Very cool. Another one from the HBO show now. Which one? This one is Season 5. Season 5, Creep Course. We have Haunt of Fear 4.0 copy of Haunt of Fear number 23. A lot of people like this cover. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's just like very bizarre. Here we have 2 now from the HBO show. So now it's starting to pick up. Now we're starting to add into it. A very nice 6.5, possibly 7.0 copy. This is a beautiful cover. It really pops. Haunt of Fear number 24. Now, season 1 uses a story from this called Only Sin Deep. Then, in season 2, HBO used another story from this called The Secret. Only Sin Deep was okay. A little bit better than Lover Come Hack to Me. But The Secret was really good. It's about the boy who's a werewolf and he's adopted by vampire parents who wanted to kill him, but they didn't realize that he was a werewolf. And, you know, that was The Secret. Spoiler alert. Pretty cool. Here's another one. Haunt of Fear number 25. This is probably like, I don't know, a 3.5 copy. This is probably something I'd upgrade. It had a production error of 3 staples. But that's not why it's bothering. That's not why I want to upgrade it. It's just little things. But I think it's a 3. I think it's safe to say this is a 3.5 copy. Great looking cover though. Great looking cover. Now I know at least one used this. This is number 25. I believe it was season 4, The New Arrival. I just want to double check to make sure that that was it. Only one was used, The New Arrival, season 4, with David Warner, who passed away, I think, recently, month and a half or something like that. Last few. Got myself a nice 6.0 copy of this one. This is a real creepy cover. Haunt of Fear number 26. Look at that one. Yeah, these covers, Haunt of Fear, you know, I've often said that, you know, when I read all the Tales from the Crypt stories, I enjoyed them. When I read the Vault of Horror ones, I wasn't as impressed with those as I was with Tales from the Crypt. But then when I got the complete Haunt of Fear, I felt that Haunt of Fear and Tales from the Crypt were pretty equal when it came to stories. You know, the creepiness and all that stuff. And this was a pretty creepy cover to add to a creepy story. Now, in this one, season 6, Comes the Dawn. I think that was the only one. Yeah, the only one for HBO. Last 2. Another nice, maybe 5.5, 6.0 copy of Haunt of Fear number 27. Season 7, the one that was in England, they took About Face out of this one. That's it, according to my notes. Not bad. Pink, you know, different. And the very, very last one, this is the other one that I would upgrade. So like I said, I talked throughout the video of what I would upgrade. Not many, about a handful. But this is the last one I upgrade. It's a 4.0 copy, but I think I could do a little bit better. I don't know. It's really nice though. As you know, as I'm looking at it, I sort of thought I would upgrade it, but then I put it aside and I'm looking at it now. It's actually pretty nice, but we'll see. Anyway, here we have Haunt of Fear, the last issue. Good cover. Haunt of Fear number 28. What was used? Was anything used in this one? No. No, that's it. Oh. Nothing was used for this on the HBO show, but I forgot to mention. Let me just bring it up. Number 26, how I said Comes the Dawn, was used in season 6. But my eyes completely glazed over the season 3 episode, Spoiled. So 2 came out of this one. Okay? Sorry about that. Okay. That is the entire Haunt of Fear collection. I didn't think I would finish Haunt of Fear before Vault of Horror, to be quite honest. You know, Haunt of Fear for the longest time in my collection had the least amount of issues. I had the least amount of Haunt of Fear issues. Even though Graham Ingalls is probably my favorite artist, surprisingly, I had the least amount of issues, and he did most of the issues. Of course, I had more Tales from the Crypt, which was my favorite series. And after that was Vault of Horror, which was Vault of Horror 16 was my very first Golden Age book. So I thought that Vault of Horror would be finished when I decided I was going to finish Vault of Horror and Haunt of Fear. I thought Vault of Horror would be done first, but it wasn't. I'm still one book shy. But yeah, no, Haunt of Fear I think really picked up I really picked up my collecting, picked up the pace in 2021 and of course 2022. That's when I started getting as many as I could. And, I think I did a pretty good job getting decent copies. And, of course, there were some that I already upgraded that you didn't see the undercopy. But just a few. Just a few that need to be upgraded. And just like with Vault of Horror, there's only a few that I want to upgrade, in addition to adding the new one I need. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you are a non-EC fan, I know this was a very long video. It's probably a very long video for EC fans too, but I try to make these videos, these collection complete videos, I try to make them informative. Try to tell you my method on why I collect these, why these are important, and what I'm doing, and how I'm upgrading, and all that stuff, and the information that others may be interested in since it's related to the HBO show. What was used from the show? If I watched the HBO show, what stories came from these books? I try to give you that education so that you could not only enjoy looking at the covers, you could hear some pretty useful things. So I will be doing some more videos, more discussion videos. So I hope you stay tuned and be safe.